People paying money to see me in a 20x20 ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the 20x20 Ring Crew. I am your host, Joe, co-host, and I am here with my brother, Matt. What's going on?
Already trying to leave me out. Jesus.
Episode 83 is upon us, and my, do we have all sorts of good shit to talk to you about. As always, we have wrestling. Well, I'll use wrestling in quotation marks this time. We have sports entertainment on in the background this week, as we are watching the
September 30th.
Thank you. September 30th edition of Monday Night Raw. Currently in the ring, it's Sasha Banks taking on Alexa Bliss in a singles match. We are witnessing the debuting commentary team of Dion Madden, Vic Joseph, and the legendary Jerry the King Lawler. What do you think? What do you think of this brand new Raw?
Seems like more of the same shit.
Especially when you open up the show with Brock Lesnar destroying Rey Mysterio and his son for 10-15 minutes.
So we don't have the volume on for obvious reasons. We have to talk, and I don't know what was said. But from the sound of things, it just seemed like Brock Lesnar just came out and beat the shit out of two guys for no fucking reason because he's Brock Lesnar, and I don't know exactly what you're trying to prove there because you've established nothing. What you've done was take Brock Lesnar, who is already over for that crowd. Keep that in mind. That is for that crowd.
That's a good point.
He's already over for that crowd. And you have Rey Mysterio, who's at the twilight of his career now. I'm sure he's getting paid handsomely. And the best you're going to do is have him just look like a complete utter bitch. On top of that, throw in his son, who it seems like it's going to happen at some point. He's going to step in the ring. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know what the hell this is, like, what statement you're trying to make. This is not, if this was going to happen in the show, this is not the way that I would start the show. This just doesn't seem good booking. It's already bad. It's already starting off bad. The second match, okay, cool. Not the second match. It's the second segment, the first match of the night, which we saw the end here. It's Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. One-on-one. Becky Lynch was out, apparently doing commentary, but she stood on top of the table the whole time, taping up and talking shit to Sasha Banks. It's more the same because here you have Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. I think it's safe to assume here, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't agree with this, two very good, talented wrestlers on that roster.
Yeah.
Okay, I have more to say now about this Rey Mysterio thing. Two very talented wrestlers. We talked about last week. You are in the midst of now whether you want to call it this or not, a war for ratings. Whether you're competing with other wrestling companies or you're competing with Monday Night Football, which is happening on Mondays right now, because it is the fall season. You are there to try to win audiences to your product. And Raw has seen dwindling numbers throughout the course of this year and last, as well as going probably further than that. It's definitely further than that. And you're trying to win them back. And you're advertising a season premiere, a brand new season, a fresh start. And what do? The exact same thing you did the week before. Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. Okay, you had this shit going on with Becky Lynch. she didn't necessarily interfere in the match, but that took way more emphasis in the match than Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. Even if you give them 8 minutes, give them 8 minutes of good, solid wrestling. Let them go back and forth. Maybe a little bit of jawing. A little bit of jawing is fine. But it was just way too much. Alexa Bliss, who is a phenomenal wrestler, and she's also one half of your women's tag team champions on top of that, and she just felt like a third wheel.
Yeah.
That's
very much a third wheel.
That is a horrible, horrible fucking start to your show. It is more or less the same shit that we've been seeing over and over again. The reason why I turned on Raw, so I turned on Raw. I record it every week on my DVR via I have PlayStation View, and I turned on an episode and I saw Braun Strowman as one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions. I'm thinking to myself, I thought he lost the titles, and we're like, yeah, but WWE probably gave it back because that's what WWE does. Comes to find out that was from like a month ago. That's how little I pay attention to the fucking product. I didn't even realize that this is a fucking rerun from a month ago. It's just bad. It's just horrible fucking booking, and I don't see any change happening here thus far. The other thing I have to say about the Rey Mysterio thing, you also booked him to fight Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship just so he could get fucking destroyed. So I guess that makes sense why he got destroyed by Brock Lesnar.
Because Brock Lesnar wants the title.
He wants the title.
So he's just going to start sabotaging matches.
And it's just... that's just fucking stupid because Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, it sounds like a match, even in the twilight of his career, seems like a match that could be a worthy match for a main event.
I would much rather watch that match than watch Brock Lesnar beat the shit out of Rey Mysterio and his son for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it went on way too long.
Yeah,
way too long. It's the same shit. I don't see what the whole purpose of promoting a season finale, or excuse me, season premiere. If I was saying season finale, I apologize. Season premiere. I don't see the emphasis. Why the emphasis in trying to do that? Because this is the reason why I turned it on, because I was gonna turn on some other stuff. No, let's give Raw a chance, see what they're going to do, because this is a pretty big week that we're in.
Yeah.
As we record this, we have Raw happening on Monday. You know, of course, as per usual. Wednesday, October 2nd, it's happening, guys. It's finally here. AEW Dynamite, the premiere episode, the series premiere, if you want to call it that, on TNT. You have NXT going full live on USA Network, and by the way, for the October 2nd edition, limited commercials. You have SmackDown debuting on Friday nights. By the way, for those who fucking care, which I don't, 205 Live is not being canceled for now. It is actually being moved to Friday night, so it's still going to happen. But I that thing's got to die soon. But on top of all that, though, you know, we just announced, this is a little correction from last week. We had wrong information. Joe and I, we usually do a lot of good fact checking before we talk about it on the podcast. It happens, but Impact Wrestling is not happening on Friday nights. It is actually going to be debuting on Tuesday nights. I don't have the exact date in front of me right now, but it is going to be later on this month. Actually, take that back. It is starting October 1st, but I think for the first 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to be all like re-airings of pay-per-views that happened this year.
Okay.
Like Redemption, I think, is tonight, and then they're going to do Slammiversary another night. So just kind of introduce the Access TV crowd to their product, and before they go, not live, but before they start airing new episodes. We also got the news earlier this week that NWA is officially got a TV show that's happening on Tuesday nights as well. So we got a little bit of a Tuesday night war going on here.
Yeah, that ought to be pretty interesting.
It's a good time. It's a good time to try to start grabbing wrestling fans to your product. And for WWE, the way that they decided to do that so far has been doing the exact same thing that they've been doing. You know, it's like if it's broken, keep it broke. Don't fix it. Don't fix it at all. That's their approach so far. I mean, it's been much the same so far, and we kind of saw that with NXT last week. We talked about that right before we started recording. You mentioned to me
it was just an odd. To me, it came across as very odd booking. You know, here you have this insanely talented roster of guys, and Kushida needs tag team partners to be part of a 6-man tag against Imperium minus Walter. And who does he quote unquote pick but Breezango? Out of everybody you could have fucking picked to showcase on your NXT, you know, we just saw the promo for it a few minutes ago. You know, if you don't want BS, this show's for you. Well, I think we just got a bunch of BS like that, and that was a main event, mind you.
That was the main event, yeah.
So the match went off without a hitch, but it wasn't a necessarily good match. I really don't understand why Breezango got picked to be with Kushida out of whoever they had available. Like, I really don't get that.
That was an example of what we are probably going to eventually see with WWE on USA Network, because this is now a brand that is going to very much get that new feeling of a Raw and a SmackDown. Whether, no matter how they want to promote it, they're really good at promoting shit. You know, you have somebody, you have a company that is very adamant on promoting and doing all these cool things, but when it comes to execution, it's the same fucking regurgitated shit. No matter how you book SmackDown, no matter how you promote SmackDown or how you promote Raw, same thing's going to be NXT on USA Network. It seems to always find the same mold. Because in their mind, in their fucking stupid mind, their stupid Connecticut fucking mind, this is what works. And for them, what works is having goofy, silly, family-friendly tag teams like Breezango. With all due respect to Tyler Breeze.
I was going to say...
Fandango can go fuck himself, but with all due respect to Tyler Breeze, it's a stupid gimmick. And here you have Imperium. There's nothing funny and cute about them. Here you have Kushida, who, you might laugh at the fact that he looks like Marty McFly. You know, I heard that right away from somebody that is not familiar with him. It's like, oh, well, first thing, that's why is he dressed like Marty McFly? I was like, yeah, well, let me explain that. It's a little weird if you're not familiar with it, but it's still not meant to be goofy or silly. He's just a fucking fanatic. You have the situation with Walter and Imperium versus Kushida the previous week, and it's like, oh, this is going to be intense. This is going to be awesome. And then he brings out Breezango.
Yeah, I did not get it.
and Nigel McGuinness, his commentary on it sums up every wrestling fan that was watching it, anticipating who his partners are going to be. It was pretty much just like, what the fuck is this? Whether you are a fan of that or not, there's a time and place for goofy, family-friendly little shticks like that. The main event of NXT is not that. And that they had no business being in that ring with those other 4 guys. Because it just didn't work. It just didn't mesh. And what you got was a subpar main event. And, you know, seeing that was your last uncontested Wednesday night match, you dropped the ball royally in that one. That was exactly that. I'm sorry, it didn't cut the mustard for me.
I really would love to get inside the head of whoever booked that.
You know, I mean, you know, it's blown coverage. It's uncontested. It's blown coverage in the end zone. You lob the ball and you just throw it right over the fucking receiver's head, and it's just like, well, you missed your shot because now the next time it's going to be contested. Now you have AEW breathing down your neck because now they go live, and yeah, I get it. This coming up. NXT, the October 2nd main event, more than likely is going to be Adam Cole defending against Matt Riddle. That should be a good match. I get that, but that's going to be contested. That's going to be contested with the Elite, more than likely the Elite versus Chris Jericho and his partners, which I'm going to assume that it's going to be something special and not something of the likes of Breezango. So it's just. That's who you have to go up against. And can you beat that? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you did enough to promote Adam Cole versus Matt Riddle, seeing that you only booked it last week. I don't like their chances of winning week 1.
No, I don't either.
And I said it last week. I'm still sticking to it. I'm still saying October's a clean sweep for AEW. And I could be wrong, but I'm saying it's a clean sweep. We'll see.
I don't disagree with you. I think so far we've just witnessed NXT shoot themselves in the foot twice, and if it keeps up that way, it really is going to be interesting to see how they hold their audience. I mean, I'm already starting to wonder. I don't get it. If you can make me understand, if there's a story to tell, and you can make me understand in a few weeks about what exactly is happening,
sure, I'm
game. Please explain it to me. Make it make sense to me. But right now, it's looking very bleak.
It was not a good 2 weeks, a great 2 weeks. The first week, great wrestling matches, and same thing with week 2 for the most part. Again, you had the really weird main event. But I mean, I enjoyed the Matt Riddle and help me out here, Killian Dane match. Yeah. Again, that was good, but it just it ended. It's like you had your entree, and then for the main event, you had like the free bread. It didn't work at all, and I guarantee you I'm not the only one that feels that way. That was just horse shit. Yeah, of fucking booking. So yeah, that's where we're at. I don't want to beat up on this Wednesday night thing too much again because we've done it enough. It's happening. It's here. UH Network for NXT, TNT for AEW, Dynamite. Check your local listings. Check it out. Check out both shows. See what you like. See what you don't like. If you're anything like me, you're gonna be. I got 2 TVs running now, so I mean, I
am witnessing side by side TVs, ladies and gentlemen, here at the 20 by 20 Ring Crew headquarters.
And that's where we're gonna be at. That's where I'm gonna be at when I finally watch it on October 2nd, and I'm gonna go live. But until NXT beats AEW gets the
big screen.
The big screen. And volume. The volume turned up. But the Tuesday Night Wars, help me out here. NWA doesn't have any details yet, right?
So NWA has announced they are calling the show NWA Power. Okay. And it will resonate from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
It will be a studio show.
Is that the center stage?
I believe so.
Okay.
And you will be able to watch it, ladies and gentlemen, for free on their Facebook page and their YouTube channel. Every week, live as it happens. I don't know about any kind of replays or anything like that. Okay. So, but you do have 2 options, either Facebook or YouTube. And I believe October 8th is the first show.
Okay. There you have it. So they didn't get a TV deal yet.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
So they will be taking on head-to-head, it seems, Impact Wrestling, which is happening Tuesday nights. And you know what? To be honest with you, that is shaping up to be the more interesting competition. NWA versus Impact. I would have guessed, because of all the momentum Impact has right now, that they would have stayed on Friday nights.
Yeah.
But the powers that be thought differently. And hey, I don't always get it right, so maybe they know something that I don't. But they seem like a very hot product. I mean, they're not AEW hot, but they're putting on a pretty damn good show. I think I'll definitely be watching a lot of both of the shows on Tuesday night for sure. I'm really excited at what NWA is trying to bring. I have been for some time now. If you watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, because it is an NWA territory, you get to see, it's a small glimpse, mind you, but you get to see what they offer.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have the exact same roster of guys, but all those guys you see on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood are all NWA guys. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who shows up week after week. I think NWA is going to have they're going to better execute their like revolving roster.
Yeah.
As opposed to even AEW. And I kind of hate saying that, but I think they're more used to it already. Because if you sit back and watch Championship Wrestling, if that's any hinkling of what the NWA Power show is going to be like, they already do a way better revolving roster than AEW has done.
Yeah.
And that excites me. It just means more stiffer competition. I think somewhere in between you have a company like MLW, and although don't get me wrong, I did say this like a month ago that MLW's beating NWA to the punch. Well, now we're really going to see, even though they're not head to head, we're really going to see who's going to be tighter competition for Impact here coming up in the next month or so.
Impact Wrestling, by the way, October 29th is when they go official on Access TV. If you are not too familiar with the product, or you want to just check out some open reviews that you haven't seen, well, first of all, I would recommend their streaming service. They don't sponsor the show, but I am going to shout them out. Impact Plus, great streaming service. I subscribe. I definitely recommend that. But if you don't have that, you can. October 1st is going to be a little late for you if you guys listen to this podcast. Actually, I take that back. October 1st, Impact Homecoming, which took place back in January. It was the first, one of the first major shows of the calendar year.
Yeah.
Besides Wrestle Kingdom. October 8th, which is the debut of NWA Power. You get Rebellion. October 15th, Slammiversary. October 22nd, a special episode called This is Impact Wrestling. And then October 29th is the official first 2-hour show of Impact Wrestling on
2 hours,
TV.
man.
I saw NWA Power is assuming one hour.
I believe it's 1 hour, yeah.
Okay. Last week, I agreed, but there's a couple things that I disagreed with in your statement of stay the course with Impact Wrestling. I agree, stay the course.
Okay.
Stay with what they're doing. But there are some things that I really don't like about them. I love the fact that they do business with so many different companies. One of the companies they're doing is one that's almost pretty much in our own backyard, Warrior Wrestling. Shout out to those guys for everything they do. I love that. I love that they do that. Again, great part of Impact Plus. They do a lot of shows. For example, Impact Wrestling is going to be in our backyard of Villa Park for Bound for Glory at the Odeum. And before that, they do this every time they do pay-per-views. they do other shows with local companies. Warrior Wrestling is one of them. I think Black Label Pro is another one that's going to be part of the show.
Yep.
And they put on a special show, and they trade talent with their guys and girls. It's a very it's a really good business model that they have. I love that part too. The part that I really hate, there's two things. One, when they show matches from the other shows, the independent shows.
Okay.
It cuts in way too. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It cuts in way too much of what they are, like their storylines and all the stuff that they're doing on the Impact. And it shows. It's just a lot of times in a 2-hour show that kills 20, 25 minutes right there. And then the other thing too, you have a lot of fucking history at this point. I mean, you've been a company now, what, 17 years?
Yeah, 17 years.
That's great. I don't need to see fucking full-length matches that took place in 2009 on your fucking show.
Yeah.
Sell the fucking streaming service. Sell that. Do a clip if you want to. Do like a no more than a 30-second, but I wouldn't even do that much. Do a short clip and sell the streaming service.
How ironic you mentioned that. And we just saw the arrival of Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair coming to the arena for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, if you didn't watch Raw, there's a 10-man tag happening at the Crown Jewel show. It's Team Hogan versus Team Flair. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This already happened years ago when Impact Wrestling was TNA.
Yeah.
And that it actually wasn't a bad match.
God damn it, pal, it never happened.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Impact Wrestling Twitter account posted like a reminder to everybody, like, "Hey, this happened already." So kudos to you guys.
Gotcha.
And you know what? I think as far as showing full length matches from previous years, I think that's probably their way of hyping the streaming service. But you're right. They should be focusing on current stuff.
Which is because their current stuff's so good.
Current stuff that's already happened and that they're trying to get people familiar with. That's a definite hell of a way to, boost interest in your streaming service, especially with the show where they had Sami Callihan versus Tessa Blanchard.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why? That was a big deal, and I know that isn't necessarily accessible to the same people who watch other wrestling programs for one reason or another.
Sure.
And why not? Why not throw that there? Like, hey, if you didn't watch this was pretty important to us. We think it should be important to you. Check out Impact Plus. You're right. I'll give you that one. The indie spots. I know when Don Callis and Ed Ferrara took over as general managers, if you will, for Impact, that was one thing they wanted to do and were adamant about, to showcase talent in general. Does it work? Does it get the talent over? Yeah, to an extent, because if it didn't, let's face it, you and I wouldn't be talking as positive as we are about their product right now. But I'm going to go halvesies with you on this one, because I do think it's working.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, it does. It does take away time that is possibly needed for current storylines with your main roster.
So here's what I'll you went halvesies with me on that. I'm gonna sweeten I'm gonna try to keep that going and add to that, because I agree, and I agree with what you said, but it's how, just like everything else, it's how they book it. So if you're going to do that, first of all, Impact's not live. You have
What?
you have the it's almost like a blessing and a burden at the same time. Yeah, you're not live. Yes, your stuff's on the internet. It's pre-taped. You can read it and all that stuff. Obviously, the first thing is that you're saving money by not being live. I'm not going to go into that, but you're not live, so therefore you can cut things however you want to make it work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ring of Honor does it all the time. You can cut it. You can add shit in there if you need to or what have you. So if you're going to showcase a full-length indie show match, you can cut that in a way to where it can benefit your storyline purposes. So you kind of do both. As you see, Ronda Rousey being advertised for some show, Total Divas. There you go. I couldn't think of the name. So yeah, you can cut it to where it benefits both shows. So if you're going to put on a show for, let's say, Warrior Wrestling, for example, let's say something with Brian Cage, Brian Cage versus anybody. I know it doesn't matter, or it could have. You could have done anything. It could have been Sami Callihan versus Moose. This is an example.
Okay.
Sami Callihan versus Moose. Maybe not that night for the live crowd, but for the people watching at home. You could have booked it, have Josh Matthews and God, I'm horrible with names today.
Don Callis.
Don Callis, there you go, thank you. You could have them announce, like, whoever is going to win this match is going to get a shot at Brian Cage's title next week on Impact.
Okay.
Was that the case at Warrior Wrestling? No, but does it matter? No. Because Warrior Wrestling's advertised. Warrior Wrestling still gets the perks of being on national TV, and you still get the perks for Impact. You still get the perks of continuing storylines. This is how you cut it, in my opinion. You can book it to however you want, showcase the match, and still have a good relationship with the independent scene. Because I do like that.
Yeah.
I just wish that when you started showing these matches, and then come back to Impact, it's like I forgot what I'm watching at this point. It doesn't have a good flow. You're kind of all over the place, and that's where I feel that they can get better. Stay the course is exactly right. I wholeheartedly agree with that, because what they're doing is working, and now that they're going to be in more houses, being watched by more people potentially, I feel like they're on the brinks of really taking over in ways that they haven't done before. And a little fun fact here for everybody at home: ever since its inception in 2004, starting October 29th, Impact Wrestling would officially have been on every single night, with the exception of Sunday. So that's.
I love how your brain works.
They've literally been on every single night except for Sunday.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Just to think about.
I just don't think they'll ever get Sunday. I hope not, because that's a pay-per-view night usually.
It's a pay-per-view night, yeah.
But yeah, something new, and hopefully this sticks. Hopefully this sticks, because they've been on. I've lost count. I want to say 4 or 5 channels in the past 6 years.
Yeah, it's up there.
That's not good.
No,
that's too much.
It's not. Yet another thing that kind of stunts their momentum.
I think with this case, they get to kind of have that running start, because Access TV has professional wrestling. They know how to book professional wrestling, and the fan base for Access TV expects professional wrestling on Friday nights usually, but if you want to do Tuesday nights, okay, this could work too.
Well, if Access TV is smart, and I know they are, they should be promoting the other shows, like the shows opposite their other wrestling shows. So Friday nights, when you're watching Women of Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling, you throw in a quick promo.
Yeah,
about how Impact's going to be on Tuesdays, and then during Impact, you promote your Friday shows, and some people are going to be like, why? Some people are going to be like, why are you doing that? Like, isn't that counterproductive? not for Access TV.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's kind of counterproductive for whatever wrestling feds are being showcased, but let's face it, everybody who knows anything about professional wrestling knows that there's more than one company, as you know, not like WWE would have you believe,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we're all to an extent, we are all smart fans.
Yeah.
And you know other wrestling exists and other wrestlers exists outside of sports entertainment, so don't be bashful about it. You know, it just I understand Access TV's promotional strategy, if you will.
Sure. So, I guess to conclude this conversation, pro wrestling. We said it, ladies and gentlemen. We're at this golden age. I mean, you have weekly TV.
It is all over the damn place.
all over the place. Let's just stick with the bigger names.
Absolutely.
Monday night, you have Raw. Tuesday nights, by the end of the month, you're going to have NWA, Power, it was called, right?
Yep.
And Impact Wrestling. Wednesday nights, you have NXT, you have AEW, Dynamite. Let's not forget, in the afternoon, you still have NXT UK.
That's right.
Which is a great product, great wrestling show. Thursday seems like a day of rest. For now.
For now, yeah.
We'll see how long that goes.
I was joking with Matt. I told him that they should bring back Thunder.
Friday nights, this one's a little weird because it's regional and it's also, but I'm going based off when the new episodes aired on their website. You have Ring of Honor.
Yep.
Ring of Honor Wrestling. But of course, you can catch that on various different days, depending on your, where you're from. And also, you have SmackDown back on Friday nights, as well as 205 Live. And that's not it. Saturday night, you still have MLW Fusion.
Yeah.
On top of the weekends is booked usually with pay-per-views or other events. You watch stuff like Evolve, you watch stuff like GCW, Shine, all the above. It just keeps getting better and better. And Sundays, you still have, if you go over to our friends over at Fight TV, 20x20crew.com/podcast/FITE, you could, first of all, by the way, new subscribers, you get $15 on us that you can use for whatever you want on that website. Bound for Glory is happening Sunday, October 20th. So you can use that towards that.
Yeah.
If you want to get a reduced price on that. But, there's a plethora of stuff. Boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, bare knuckle fighting, etc., etc. Pro wrestling, of course, including Sunday nights. Oh, by the way, there are some independent stuff you can catch on Thursday. So if you're really hardcore and wrestling fan, Rocky Mountain Charge.
Oh, that's right.
Rocky Mountain Pro, they got their show on Thursday nights. But Sundays, you got Reality Wrestling for free Sunday afternoons. And Sunday night just got a little bit better, too, because we already had Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Again, if you want to check out NWA stuff, watch their product. Really good show. And I just found out on Sunday, and I just told Joe this before we started recording, but one of our favorite companies, PCW Ultra.
PCW Ultra.
They just joined the weekly show business, as they have their own show now called Mutiny. You can catch that on Fight TV as well. Sunday night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
For the low price of $3.99.
$3.99. You gotta go over to Fight. 20x20crew.com/podcast/FITE. That is one of my favorite places.
Sign up. We're paying you to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
We can't do it with Podcoin anymore. Sadly. But, hey, go get yourself $15 on us, free from Fight TV.
Absolutely, just amazing time to be a pro wrestling fan. I mean, I don't really see it ending there. Somebody big is gonna take that Thursday night slot. I can see it. I can see it happening.
We're gonna see Thunder happen. They're gonna switch 205 Live to Thunder.
Before we go take a break, I want somebody asked me an interesting question about Impact Wrestling going on Tuesday nights. I wanted to hear your thought process on this, because this kind of I like it, but I also don't like it because, again, what I said about being tapes and what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody has said, what if Impact does what they used to do? Rent out an arena. Basically do what NXT is doing right now. It'll cut costs and just do it from there every week, but go live. Good idea or bad idea?
You know what? If this were any other roster,
yeah,
I would say bad idea. But being that they now have the partnerships,
yep,
that were lacking previously, they have a phenomenal roster of people. It would work. It would totally work. Unlike what we're watching in the ring right now. We are watching
two very old men.
Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan about to get into it in the ring.
Just doing their over the top.
Nobody wants this. Oh, Jesus. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yes, going live
is
sticking to one venue.
Yeah.
Going live every Tuesday night.
That's the key, by the way, is sticking to one venue.
Sticking to one venue, yeah. I mean, it saves money for the company, and then just do just like NXT does. Stick to one place, and then every so often you do a takeover style special somewhere else. It makes sense. That's what they were kind of doing before anyway, like recently, and not as opposed to years ago.
Sure.
So yeah, why not? Why not?
I would love to see. I know it's for more reasons than this, but like somebody like Sami Callihan, live TV on a network that is going to give him more free range than USA Network and TNT combined.
Yeah, use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, smart business.
I thought that was an interesting question, and they do have a phenomenal roster, and
thank you to whoever posed the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for paying attention.
But yeah, it would be good, and I'm going to throw this out there too. Does that work only because it's Tuesday nights, or if they went head to head with SmackDown, would that still be a smart move?
I think it would. I think it would work even better going head to head against SmackDown.
SmackDown, yeah.
Because if you pay attention to any kind of wrestling or sports entertainment, we know that when there's competition abound, everybody seems to have a fire lit under their ass.
Yeah. And
what better way to see things like that progress than with live TV? Again, going back to Sami Callihan, someone like him, he can talk on the mic. Yeah. He can be very provocative and controversial. You're giving him a free range, a range freer than a USA or a TNT, so he doesn't have to be TV 14. Holy shit! Book that.
Yeah.
For me, book that. I would watch that over anything else. Do I care? Do I care about The Rock coming back to SmackDown? Fuck no. I'm not.
But he's coming home.
I'm not excited for that.
It's his home.
I'm not.
He's
gonna cut another Rock style promo, and hey, that's all well and good. I'm not saying I'm not a fan.
Sure.
But you put someone like Sami Callihan with a live mic on live TV. Guess what I'm gonna watch? I'm gonna watch Sami Callihan.
Oh, there's so many reasons for that too. Because one, and I know I'm going to get some heat from this one.
Oh shit!
Sami Callihan is more entertaining on the mic than The Rock is.
Absolutely.
Because I could tell you what the fucking Rock's going to fucking say before he says it. And not only that, but I know Sami Callihan's going to show up next week. So it just
that's a good point.
So it's like that's what I came to see. I didn't come to see somebody that I liked when I was 10 years old come back and cut the same fucking promo over and over and over again. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, you got so much wrestling to watch. This is not even including New Japan tours and the fact that we might start see Pro Wrestling Noah more here in the United States. The Clash is coming here, thanks to MLW. Thanks to MLW for Pro Wrestling Noah too. We're still yet to see what that partnership's going to bring. There's so much to fucking look forward to, and it's a lot of it's here. It's finally here, as well as our commercial break because we got to pay some bills. So we're gonna pay some bills. You guys hang back and stay tuned.
Hello, ladies.
You know what really turns the Big Valboski on? Saving money. That's right. And you guys can help the boys over at the 20x20 crew do just that and visit Raise 20x20crew.com/podcast/raise. Buy yourself some discounted gift cards, save some money, and support the show all in the same process. Damn, that's hot. 20x20crew.com/podcast/raise. Saving money definitely gets the Big Valboski to raise.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you again for hanging in there with us while we paid some bills.
Thank you.
As always, we still have wrestling on in the background. We are still watching the September 30th edition of Monday Night Raw. And Matt, you and I just watched an entire wrestling match right in the fucking middle of Raw. What is going on?
Yeah, how about that?
It was the OC, Gallows and Anderson, taking on the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ibar. What fucking names are those? Jesus. And it was a legit match.
What do you mean, pal?
I was surprised. How did this fucking sneak on Raw?
Yeah, good solid match. And if that's the changes that you're going to have, then that's got to be part of it. Wrestling, you still need your storylines. Like I said last week, you still have to have that because you're a weekly show, but you need wrestling.
And up next, it looks like it's going to be Cesaro versus Ricochet. Man, what the fuck is going on?
Main event, Seth Rollins versus Rusev. I'd expect shenanigans for that, but,
we were talking about Rusev. Rusev doesn't even look like himself anymore. He's smaller. He looks like he changed nationalities. He looks Mexican.
Yeah. That mustache he's rocking.
Dude. I don't know.
And supposedly he's on the rocks with his wife because they keep talking about it.
I don't know about that either. I don't keep up with her. She's too fast for me, man. She's too fast for me.
She's I don't know if I can dive into this, but to me, there seems people are gonna look at her. She's a beautiful woman, all this stuff. So if you follow her enough on social media, you start to get the impression that there's something off with her. And yeah, I would say fast, yes, but I think there's some underlying medical thing there. If I'm being perfectly honest here, there's something quite off with her. She's very awkward, and I could be wrong. Maybe I'm completely out of line there, but yeah, that's what I get out of it.
You know what you just did? You made me want to follow her on like Instagram and shit just to see what kind of bullshit's going on.
It's just some of the shit she posts is just weird. It's just weird. Like I said, people are gonna look past it because she's a beautiful woman, but yeah, it's just a little weird. But as you see, Ricochet about to make his entrance here. Who's he fighting out? Cesaro.
Cesaro, right?
So this should be a good match. Hopefully they let him go again. Even if they go, let's say 8 to 10 minutes. Even if you're going to give them 7 minutes, something like that, let them go. Let them go.
Yeah.
There's going to be matches where you're going to want to fill in shenanigans and throw shit in there. Okay, but do that with be tasteful with it. I just noticed the different. I don't know. Again, I haven't watched Raw in quite some time, but I noticed the little setup there. It kind of looks like a ramp.
Yeah.
Going. Was that been like that? Or?
No. That's new too.
That's new. Everything's new. I don't know. Not my favorite. I like it a lot better than like what they used to do with where they had all those like steel beams coming out. It almost looked like it's like in construction, like not finished. Now they're finished. It's got a nice little. Looks like a half pipe they got going on.
It does, doesn't it?
But, what are we doing here? I want to talk about the tag team tournament.
Sure.
Because, I was editing last week for last week's episode. I noticed something that we talked about, and I was unsure to why we didn't add this team. We talked about the Von Erichs. We have a team already with the Von Erichs, but then we started doing the kayfabe team of Lance, who's not a real Von Erich brother, teaming up with Kerry. And we were just like, this is a bullshit team.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is a bye week. And then we mentioned in the episode, and I don't know why we didn't. I didn't know. You explained to me off air. But at the time, I didn't know why we didn't add them to the tournament instead of Lance and Kerry. So we're officially doing it now. It's still going to be Von Erichs, but it's going to be a real Von Erich brother tag team. And that is the tag team of Marshall and Ross, who are currently active. They are part of the Major League Wrestling roster. You can catch them every Saturday night on BN Sports. You can catch them every Tuesday on Fight TV. Again, that's 20x20crew.com/podcast/FITE. That is for free every week. But yeah, let's scrap Kerry and Lance, and let's not make it an easy bye week for somebody or bye round.
All right,
and
sounds good.
Let's throw in an actual tag team of Marshall and Ross. No, they're not as established as other tag teams, but if you haven't seen these guys go, they can go, and they're going to be a tough team to beat.
You can actually watch them in a pretty interesting match. Obviously, they can't call it War Games anymore, but you can catch them in the War Chamber against the Contra Unit in MLW on MLW Fusion, episode 75 on Fight TV. Again, 20x20crew.com/podcast/FITE, episode 75 of MLW Fusion. It was a pretty interesting match. The Von Erich boys teaming up with Low Key against the Contra Unit. Could have been better for me, but it was a pretty bloody match.
Yeah.
Speaking of brothers, you and I were not together to watch Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor happening from Las Vegas. Very interesting news happened over this past weekend with the real life brothers of Dragon Lee and Roosh. They were working for CMLL, and shortly before the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, you had Roosh announce with his father, I believe he goes by Bestia in el Ring, also worked for CMLL. They announced that they were going to become independent wrestlers, which led to CMLL stating, hey, whatever you're doing, don't do it. And obviously they're like, fuck it, we're going to do this. So CMLL fired both Roosh and his father, but they also fired Dragon Lee, which is coming across as like completely out of spite. No one else can figure out why they threw Dragon Lee in there other than that he's related to them.
Sure.
So Dragon Lee, completely disheartened. I think his social media post was on Twitter. And he poured his heart out. He's like, I'm really disheartened that a company that I know and love and have, bled for has all of a sudden we've just parted ways, and for what reason? It was just a really interesting chain reaction that weekend. So you had Roosh and his dad go indie, and then CMLL fires them two and Dragon Lee and essentially it came out, they officially announced that it was for not following programming guidelines or something to that effect. And then immediately after that, Roosh wins, spoiler alert, wins the Ring of Honor World title from Matt Taven, who was also not under, or in negotiations to become, or to possibly leave Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, he didn't. He's not going to. Still dropped the title to Roosh, all within 24 hours. It was just so bizarre and fast paced. It made for a very interesting weekend. It definitely hipped me to sit my ass down and watch Death Before Dishonor in its entirety. Something that I originally wasn't. It definitely made the show a little more intriguing to watch. And overall, the pay-per-view was pretty solid. There was definitely, they were doing some stuff that you typically don't see, and I actually really liked the way things were booked overall. I found my daughter paying attention to matches that she normally wouldn't, per se.
Okay.
You had Jonathan Gresham take on Jay Lethal in kind of like a grudge match. Mm-hmm. And she watched the entire thing. She was like, "Wow, that was a great match, Dad." Something I didn't necessarily expect to hear from her because, I mean, she's typically more of a Young Bucks fan. A lot more fast-paced stuff. And Gresham versus Lethal was not fast-paced at all.
Scientific. Very
scientific, very technical-based. But it was a hell of a match. She was right. Hell of a match. She did watch the parts of the barroom brawl match between the Bouncers and the team of Silas Young and Vinny Marseglia from the Kingdom. Mm-hmm. They were all over the damn place, and what caught her attention was Marseglia opens up this little leather-looking zipper pouch, and it turned out to be a set of darts, and he proceeded to throw them at the Beer City Bruiser, and he nailed him right, literally right above his ass crack, and the dart went all the way in. There's no way in hell he didn't feel that. Things like that.
Right in the buttocks.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. But just again, it made for a very interesting 24 hours for Ring of Honor. I mean, whether they planned it that way or not, they also added Dragon Lee to the television title match as a fourth competitor.
Right.
Shane Taylor retained, but he also is. It was it's interesting where he's at. He's not part of Ring of Honor technically. He's still trying to do business with them to renegotiate a contract, but he had their television title when this happened. How do things like that fall by the wayside? I've never heard of Ring of Honor ever getting themselves into that.
Yeah.
And now you have two guys, one guy with a belt, and quite honestly, I'm not trying to take anything away from Shane Taylor, but out of the two of them, I think Matt Taven is the more important talent.
Oh, without doubt.
But it just so happens that Shane Taylor has your World TV title, and you don't want to piss him off in hopes that he'll stay and won't go anywhere along with your belt. So they really didn't have any choice but to do business with what he's now calling Shane Taylor Promotions. He comes out with an entourage now.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's got 3 or 4 guys that come out with him, and Yeah, it made for very, very interesting pay-per-view.
Interesting times there. The situation with Roosh and Dragon Lee, I get it's. I don't get CMLL and how they're doing business with that. But what's also confusing me is how do they react to what Ring of Honor did? Because Ring of Honor just picked up where CMLL essentially just dropped them off on the side of the road.
Well, what do you do if you're Ring of Honor?
No, I'm not saying Ring of Honor is wrong,
but I'm saying, like, if they don't do that, what do they do? If you choose to, am I mistaken in saying, like, your line of thought is like we're business partners?
Yeah.
And clearly, you guys are having,
Sure.
disagreement or whatever.
Yeah.
So you guys aren't doing business anymore. What do you do as that other business partner? Like that is such an opportunity for them.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like Ring of Honor stepping on CMLL's toes?
I don't think if I'm Ring of Honor, I would have done the exact same thing.
Okay.
Because we talked about it in previous episodes. Ring of Honor needs talent. They need talent that can help get them over. And Dragon Lee is one of those guys. Roosh, even though he's independent, he's one of those guys. Obviously, he's doing business because he's a world champion now. That all works. It's just really weird and really interesting how this is going to play out. Because Ring of Honor, if you go back to what just passed? Global Wars? Or was it War of Worlds? Global Wars.
Yeah, Global Wars.
Global Wars just took place. For those who don't remember, New Japan Pro Wrestling was not a part of that for the first time in years.
Yeah, it was all CMLL.
It was CMLL, and could this be something that CMLL just says, that they're going to back out now, and now you don't have anybody for the time being.
Well, you just don't do that tour then.
Yeah,
It's
just weird. It's just weird how that's working out. Where Ring of Honor is kind of just, and they didn't do anything wrong. Keep that in mind. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. It was just, you see somebody throw something on the side of the road, you're like, they just fucking just dropped Dragon Lee off the side of the road. Like, are you wrong for picking it up? No. So I would have done the same thing. I probably would have had Dragon Lee win my fucking TV title that night.
I'm surprised that didn't happen. Especially with all this shit going on with Shane Taylor. Like,
maybe there's some kind of contract situation that we don't know.
Could be.
Maybe he's got some kind of clause in his contract. I don't fucking know. First of all, Shane Taylor ain't nothing special. For one, I'm sure he's going to get mad at me for saying that. But
I mean, I like where he's coming from. Like, the buzz that he's created from the situation. It's healthy. I think it definitely works. But yeah, I would take Dragon Lee over Shane Taylor in a heartbeat any day.
Yeah, exactly. And then what kind of statement though does that leave for Ring of Honor to CMLL when the two guys you just fired are now their top two champions, singles champions in the company? It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting because they are essentially in bed together, and these guys, hey, fuck these guys, we don't want any part of them, but our partner is now exploiting them in ways that we wanted to do before they piss us off. It's a really interesting time.
And I know Roosh was already part of a previously agreed upon contract with Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
So he's still fulfilling those dates before he won the title. Mm-hmm. The title is just like a perk for him now. Mm-hmm. But Dragon Lee, as far as I know, has not struck a deal with Ring of Honor. They invited him to do that show. He did that show.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's necessarily signed or he'll be signed. But he's definitely got more free time now, But I digress. This is crazy stuff. It seems like it's going to become more and more of that as the months roll on here, especially with all the different competition now.
Well, see, that's the question now. I mean, you have, we started seeing it last year with companies like MLW, where MLW is starting to get contracts, where it's like you're committed to me for X amount of years or what have you. With this whole plethora of companies that exist, who's to say that we don't see more situations where guys are saying, you know what, I'm just independent? And is that going to be a problem within the business as a whole? If you got guys that are just, I'm going to come and I'm going to do a few dates for you, but I'm not going to commit.
I don't see that as a problem, but then again, I grew up watching territories where you had your traveling champion, a la like Ric Flair or Harley Race or whomever,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody else was kind of like, hey, I'm going to be here for a few months and then I'm going to go work a different territory, and it was always a different reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes a babyface could do everything they could in
Sure.
that territory, so they had to leave. Same with heels.
Mm-hmm.
You could do everything you could do as a heel, and guess what? It's not working with the fans anymore. Time to move on. But it works. It works. It definitely makes for an interesting roster in different places all the time. You never know who's going to show up where.
Yeah.
Why they're showing up. They just show up. So I'm all for it. I know that's probably looked upon as bad business at some point, but I'm all for it.
Well, let me ask you this question. For those who don't know, like Joe's saying, territories existed back in the day. You had, WWE was kind of that company that took it to a different level. They took all those guys and they said, we're the one-stop shop. In a nutshell, that's what happened. Take what you had in the territories.
Okay.
And fast forward it 30-plus years to today. 30 to 40-plus years. And does the territories surpass what WWF brought to the table if you had things like the internet and more cable television, or what cable television is what it is today? If we were in today's market, yesterday's idea, today's market, was that the thing that got the territories to die? The fact that there was no good way to watch everything they did, or was that also part of the mystique of what brought the territories? What made them successful was the fact that it was a special attraction to see a guy like Ric Flair, for example, in Texas, for a few weeks or what have you, or months. Was that what helped us survive to begin with? And if so, what makes this era any different from the territories?
Two things. There's two reasons that territories were thriving back in yesteryear.
Okay.
One was the trading of talent.
Yes.
And two, everybody had their own individual product. Just because you watched Kamala in World Class Championship Wrestling based out of Texas, when he went to the WWF or AWA, you weren't guaranteed the same Kamala, and it that makes a difference, especially when your entire roster is capable of doing that. I'm very much of the opinion of Ric Flair when it comes to kind of like the overall concept of the dying of a territory. There's two things that killed the territories. One, you would have promoters essentially getting greedy and just booking that town out or booking that territory out. And what I mean by that is just horrible booking after horrible booking after horrible booking, to the point where no one wants to come see your shit. So guess what? You're belly up. Or you don't want to do business with the rest of, an NWA. And guess what? You're belly up. The other thing was, and he specifically talked about Crockett doing this. Crockett's NWA, if he would have stayed, according to Ric Flair, and again, I agree with Ric Flair, if Crockett would have stayed where he was as his territory and not tried to venture outside of that.
Like the trip out west.
It was expansion that happened too fast.
Yeah.
That's what killed the Crockett promotion.
So what you said in your first part, especially the trading talent and companies having their own product, that's what we see today.
But it's also what makes it different from today. It's different because, yeah, we do see that, but not to the same extent. Again, you just talked about MLW. Oh, guess what? We want to sign you exclusively. We want to sign you exclusively. So you're not going to see those guys anywhere else. AEW is doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see Kenny Omega anywhere else. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see the Young Bucks anywhere else. So there's a lot of that going on. And it wasn't necessarily like that in the territory days. Sure, there was guys that stayed in places for a very long time.
Sure.
Whether it was guaranteed money or not, but it was nothing like today.
You also have contracts, though, like MJF, to where he is signed with both MLW and AEW, and they're both multi-year deals.
Sure, yeah.
And he's committed to both companies, so he's But the thing is, too, like you have for MLW, you have MJF, who's part of the Dynasty, and he's doing this thing with
Hammersmith,
Hammerstone and. Rich.
Oh yeah, he's Hammerstone and MLW,
yeah.
Hammersmith and PCW.
Yeah, stuff like that. I forget the other guy's name, but they're the current tag team champions in MLW, and then in AEW, he's still kind of the same guy, but there's no dynasty, there's no trio, and he's got this weird relationship with Cody Rhodes. But anyways, one of the great examples for me that doesn't exist anymore, but when Zack Sabre Jr. was in Evolve, Zack Sabre Jr. is one of the biggest heels in pro wrestling right now, especially in New Japan and Rev Pro. He's a member of Suzuki-gun. Doesn't get any more heelish than that. I mean, they are the epitome of heel, especially during a time when the Bullet Club was kind of both. Mm-hmm. So he's a big heel, but you go to Evolve. You go to Evolve when he was the Evolve champion, and he is the biggest babyface there. He's still Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
He's still gonna fuck you up. He's still gonna tear your limbs apart. But he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy here. We see that with a lot of guys. We see that with we were seeing that with Sami Callihan when he was in MLW.
Yeah, you're right.
He was a babyface. He was a part of Selena Del Renta's stable for a while, and then he left that. He was teaming up with Mance Warner after they had a great rivalry, and then but the whole time and on Impact Wrestling, he's doing OVE. OVE doesn't exist in MLW, but it exists in Impact Wrestling. So there's so much great with that, because let's take Sami Callihan, and let's say he's a busy man. Okay, this is a really busy schedule if he did this, but let's just call it this. You have OVE and Impact. You have, let's say he signs with AEW.
Okay.
You have him, I don't know, do spots with guys like Jon Moxley, like Kenny Omega. Give him whatever you want. He can be a heel again. And then he signs with Ring of Honor, for example. And let's say he's a babyface. Let's say Roosh does an open challenge for the ROH World Title, and out comes Sami Callihan. You have 3 different Sami Callihans working for you there. And the beauty of it all, this is the point that I was trying to make earlier, and maybe I'm seeing it differently. The beauty of it all is that there's no regional gaps anymore. Now you can watch it anywhere. You can watch it on TV. You can watch it via the internet. There's no no reason for you to not be able to actually enjoy all of wrestling now. And that's my, the thing where, it's a good thing, but you also have that issue of, let's say you take the same guy, Sami Callihan, and he says, I'm going to work all these shows, but he's not committing to anybody. His contract expired with Impact. Yeah, I'll still do stuff. Oh, you want me to do Bound for Glory? I can't do Bound for Glory because AEW's got something going on. Well, the booking is going to be hard now. This is going to be a problem. So that's my question: when does it become? If it does, when does it become a problem for bookers when you have men and women starting to say, I'm independent and I'm going to, essentially doing what Shane Taylor is doing right now, I'm going to go to business for myself. You want me, I'll do your show, I'll commit to X, Y, and Z shows, but that's it. Where's the long-term storyline purposes? Because, again, for all these companies that we're mentioning, they have weekly TV shows. I appreciate the rotating talent, but there's a fan base out there that's not going to buy into that fully. So you have to have some kind of stability. I'm not saying everybody has to be stable, but you have to have something that they can recognize on a weekly basis. And are companies going to have a problem? This is my next question. Are companies going to have a problem fulfilling that, do you think? Or do you think more people are going to be on board with more long-term deals? Not necessarily exclusive contracts, like a Kenny Omega situation, but like an MJF, to where it's, I'll commit to AEW for 2 years, I'll commit to MLW for a year, I'll commit to Ring of Honor for 2 years, whatever, and then try to find the balance with your schedule on there. Maybe you MJF is missing from MLW for a month, for that month's tapings or whatever. I mean, what helps for MLW is that they only tape once a month. So you only have to be there one time. But let's say they change how they do business. There's a lot of variables that we still have to deal with, and that's the only thing that worries me about this golden age of wrestling is, where does the greed take place, and who does it take place more from, the promotion or the wrestlers?
You're always going to get greedy people. That's just the nature of some human beings. I think it becomes a problem when you have guys who are overbooking themselves.
That's fair.
Okay. And these people are, regardless of whether they're independent contractors or not, you're agreeing to, essentially you're agreeing money for bumps. That's how I look at it. Money for bumps. Are you going to get more money for less bumps, or more bumps for less money? And that's what you have to figure out. Roosh, we're gonna see this play out. We're gonna see this play out with Roosh, because he is an independent contractor now. And yes, he has dates he has to fulfill with Ring of Honor, but after that, he can go wherever the fuck he wants. And I can guarantee you, if he keeps wrestling the way he wrestles, there's going to be multiple companies looking to sign him for dates. And now you have that dilemma. Where do I go to sign? Do I give my time to Ring of Honor? They treated me well. They gave me a title. Or do I go test the waters in New Japan? Go join my Ingobernables brothers.
Yeah.
Maybe I take a completely different route and I show up on NXT. But again, you have stipulations there. Mm-hmm. So I think overall, in a general blanket sense, greed is a problem.
Yeah,
that's problem number one. That is always threatening of any golden age of anything. Greed.
Sure.
The other problem is people knowing their limits. let's say we have a Sami Callihan and he goes indie and he's booked himself for 3 or 4 different places. Depending on how those places are run, it is feasible that he could be in 4 different places or 4 different companies. But that's still, no matter what kind of money we're talking about, that's still potentially a lot of bumps. And, and like, how do you do that?
Especially Sami Callihan style.
How do you know when enough is too? How much? How do you know when? It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when it's too little? You've got guys like Dragon Lee.
Yeah.
Dragon Lee, obviously he's working a lot less days for CMLL these days. So does he show back up more in New Japan? Does he go that route? Does he take his chance with Ring of Honor? Like, what does he do? What does he agree to?
There's that, and there's the bumps, and there's the travel, the days on the road.
Yeah, that again,
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Takes a toll on the body. One other question I have for you: you have WWE, NXT obviously is a part of that as well. Let's say this does work the way that we hope it does, and that this whole golden age is excelling.
Okay,
talent trading is doing so well. Likelihood. What is the likelihood of WWE saying, you know what? We want you to work for our company. We want you to come to NXT. We want you to do this stuff with Matt Riddle and Kushida and Adam Cole and all that stuff. But you don't want to be exclusive. What is the likelihood for them to take a step back from their game plan and say, you know what? We can't have everybody exclusively, but if we can have them even for just, let's say, a commitment of 6 months, even though they're not exclusive, even though there's a potential opportunity that they show up on, let's say, Ring of Honor. I'll leave AEW out of it right now.
Okay.
But there's a possibility they show up on Ring of Honor, or they show up internationally, like New Japan, or CMLL or something like that they still sign them.
I think it's a high possibility, and the only reason I say that is because when the Bucks and Kenny Omega became free agents, all 3 of those guys had divulged publicly at some point that they didn't talk figures, but what they did say was we were offered multi-year deals, and then when we said no, they offered us much shorter term contracts, but we had to be exclusive. And we had to, basically give up this, and this, and we couldn't do anything else. And if I'm not mistaken, both the Bucks and Kenny Omega were offered 6-month contracts.
Yeah,
they were that sought after, and I think that's the key. You have to be that sought after of a talent to afford that kind of a deal to be presented to you. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all.
That you see a guy wrestle, let's say, NXT on Wednesday night for 3 weeks, does a New Japan tour, comes back to NXT.
Yeah,
you think they'd be on board? I hope they would be. I hope they would adapt to the times. They're the old man in all of this.
They are, and that's the other thing too. That it's going to be very dependent of one Vince McMahon. Once he relinquishes some of that stranglehold he has. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take forward-thinking people in that company to make those sorts of deals and be okay with those sorts of deals.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time because, we see it in digital streaming. We see that in so many other media outlets.
How many times have you said, and you've noticed like one of your favorite movies on like Amazon Prime? Mm-hmm. And then 4 months later, it's gone because now it's exclusive to Netflix.
Yeah,
same thing.
Oversaturation is a great thing, but it's potentially a bad thing because it's a great thing in this sense. Excuse me, it's great in the sense of actually I was just having this conversation with one of the newer guys at work. He's 18 years old, so there's an age gap between us. You know, and I said, growing up, this is what people wanted. They hated paying all this money for cable. Man, I wish we could, you know, pick the channels that we wanted. And I was saying, like people like my father, they hate streaming services, and they hate that because it's like it just doesn't make sense. They don't want to adapt the times. But it's like, Dad, this is what you wanted all along. Yeah. Now you get to pick the channel. Yes, it's not the exact same thing per se, but now you get to pick. You don't want the stuff that's on Hulu. Don't buy Hulu.
Don't buy Hulu.
Don't subscribe to it. You don't like Netflix. Don't subscribe to it. But you know, there's a plethora of streaming services that exist out there now, and there's more to come. And some people have a problem with that because it's just too much. Look, I get that, but now you have a competition of people trying to earn your money instead of just saying, you know, you're the only guy in town. Because when you're the only guy in town, then you become the WWE.
Yeah.
And you become Comcast for us here in the Chicagoland area.
Fuck those guys, man.
You become an overpriced entity that doesn't offer a whole lot because you don't have to.
It's like being at a restaurant and you have dessert a la carte, and then, you know, if you're the only restaurant in town, it's like you get your choice: banana cream pie or coconut cream pie. We don't got anything else.
Yeah, don't ask.
Don't ask. But now these days, it's like, wait a minute, we have like 50 million different types of fucking pie. Any kind of pie you want, essentially, and it's up to you. You pick what you want to eat.
Yeah,
you can have multiple slices of pie, all for one low price every month.
What's that term that we use on this podcast? Variety is the spice of life.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's the whole concept of having all of these different wrestling companies out there vying for your viewership, because they're going, you know, ideally they're going to pull out all the stops that they can to make sure that you watch their product on Tuesday night, their product on Wednesday night, that you stay home and watch their product on Saturday night, or at the very least DVR. I mean, people are fighting for your viewership, same way that the streaming services are doing that. You know, having a one-stop shop seems like a great idea, but then greed takes over, and what you have is go somewhere else. I dare you, because you're not going to get this. You know, we're going to give you half-assed product for whatever the fuck we want to charge you for it, and then when the audacity that another company comes to town and says, you know, hey, you want that, but better, or at least different, we'll call it this different. We won't say better. We just want to give you an alternative. Come watch us. Oh, well then now that fan base that was getting fucked for so long looks at this other company and says, they ain't going to last.
To add another layer to this onion, a lot of the problems with the wrestling business years ago, you had a lot of guys who were unhappy and they couldn't leave. Well, now there's all these different places that they can leave to. So there really is no real reason to be unhappy.
Yeah.
You just simply make a deal that you're okay with, stay there for as long as you want, and then you leave. Simple as that.
Yeah, because you can go to the independent scene, but the independent scene was local, non-televised, not talked about. There's no money in it.
No, you know, not for most people.
You're making $80 a night, if that. You know, so it's not worth it. Where now, you know, independent scene is on national TV, on the internet. You could wrestle for a company like Warrior Wrestling in a high school gymnasium and be aired in front of the entire world.
Yeah.
You know, that's the beauty of technology. I mean, you can be a dinosaur, or you can evolve and adapt to change. And it's going to be interesting to see how the companies are going to do just that. I have faith in it. I have my concerns, of course. I think any realistic person should.
Sure.
But ideally, this is going to be everything that we've been dying to see. It's finally here. So I think that's going to do it for us this week. We talked a lot of wrestling. We talked a lot of hyping, and now we just gotta wait and see how it unfolds.
We are going to release a list of all the teams in our Brothers Tag Team Wrestling Fantasy Tournament, and we're gonna provide empty brackets for you guys to fill out.
Yes.
Definitely would love to see what you guys come up with. And we will officially release our brackets on episode 84.
Perfect.
In the meantime, you can catch us on Twitter, twitter.com/20x20crew, instagram.com/20x20crew. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/20x20crew is our official Facebook page. But if you want to sit and talk to Matt and I, please join us in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/20x20talk. Episode 81, or 80, was it 82? We did the following contest.
That was episode 81.
Thank you. I'm sorry, my old brain is not with it right now.
It's been a weird couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
We're starting to get back in the swing of things.
Episode 81 represents our fantasy booking to the fullest in the following contest. A YouTube exclusive. We recently focused on the possible comeback of one CM Punk, the Second City Saint himself. That is episode 81. Again, only on YouTube. 20x20crew.com/podcast/YouTube will take you directly to our channel where you can listen to that at your leisure. So fitting that we bring him up right here and now.
Yeah.
And what happens? He applies for a job, not to wrestle, mind you,
Right.
but to be like a commentator for Fox Sports.
Yeah, so he wouldn't officially be working for WWE. Fox is going to have a show that they talk WWE. It's going to be on FS1, Fox Sports 1. Their answer to ESPN, if you will.
Yeah.
And CM Punk is going to talk WWE. Again, he's not going to be contracted by WWE if he does get the position, but he will be talking about WWE. And I wonder if it's going to be more of like when Chael Sonnen was doing commentary in UFC, working for ESPN, where he was for a while, he was a little brutal about the product, and then when the deal happened, it's like, all right, I'll play ball. Which Chael Sonnen, if you will we get with CM Punk?
Right.
Is he going to play ball, or is he going to be brutal about the product? It'd be interesting to see.
Absolutely.
But it's just going to be interesting to see him talk about anything wrestling related, or wrestling in quotation marks, if you will, sports entertainment.
Sure.
Whatever. To see him talking about that again would be it's going to be interesting.
And then, of course, our home on the web, 20x20crew.com, where you can find all of our previous episodes, merchandise, and anything and everything we've ever had to offer you people. Deals, please take the time and visit us out there on the web. That's going to do it for us this week.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, as always, brother, for the stimulating conversation.
Yeah, no, this has been fun. It's been a good couple of weeks of building up to this.
Once again, thank you to everybody who decided to stay on after Podcoin. We're looking to expand our network here in the near future, and we'll keep you in tune with that. But until that time comes, do you want to do it, or am I going to do it?
No, I'll give you the honors this week. I just want to say thank you again for everybody out there. There's again, it's been a really up and down couple of weeks, but we are getting back in the swing of things. Any support you guys give is beyond appreciated. Thank you so much for sticking around. I wish I could pay you my own money for you to listen, but the fact that you want to listen and again, for those who have continue to reach out and offer suggestions, like the Impact Wrestling conversation.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. Whatever it is, even if you're telling us that we're fucking up, tell us. Let me know. Let me know what I'm doing wrong, or in your eyes, so I can not fix it later. But thank you so much again for all the support.
Absolutely, thank you so much. So you're giving me the honors?
Yeah, it's all you.
All right, you've been Joe. I've been Matt. And ladies and gentlemen, you're always fabulous. Until next week, we will see you in the ring. I'm going to do that soon.
Yeah.